Hi, my name is David. I'm in Tainan, and this is Taiwan in English. In today's exciting episode, we will be continuing on with episode 4 of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Among the musical disciples who assembled one evening each week to receive his instruction in psalmistry was Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter and only child of a substantial Dutch farmer. She was a blooming lass of fresh 18. Plump as a partridge, ripe and melting and rosy-cheeked as one of her father's peaches, and universally famed, not merely for her beauty, but her vast expectations. She was withal a little coquette, as might be perceived even in her dress, which was a mixture of ancient and modern fashions, as most suited to set off her charms. She wore the ornaments of pure yellow gold, which her great-grandmother had brought over from Sardom, the tempting stomacher of an older time, and withal a provoking short petticoat, to display the prettiest foot and ankle in the country round. Ichabod Crane had a soft and foolish heart towards the sex, and it is not to be wondered at the so tempting a morsel soon found favor in his eye, most especially after he had visited her in her paternal mansion. Old Baltus Van Tassel was a perfect picture of a thriving, contented, liberal-hearted farmer. He seldom, it is true, sent either his eye or his thoughts beyond the boundaries of his own farm. But within these everything was snug, happy, and well-conditioned. He was satisfied with his wealth, but not proud of it, and piqued himself upon the hearty abundance, rather than the style in which he lived. His stronghold was situated on the banks of the Hudson, in one of those green, sheltered, fertile nooks in which the Dutch farmers are so fond of nestling. A great elm tree spread its broad branches over it, and at the foot of which bubbled up a spring of soft and sweet water, in a little well formed of a barrel, and then stole sparkling away through the grass to a neighboring brook that babbled along alders and dwarf willows. Hard by the farmhouse was a vast barn that might have served for a church, every window and crevice of which seemed bursting forth with treasure of the farm. The flail was busily resounding within it from morning to night. Swallows and martins skimmed twittering about the eaves, and rows of pigeons, some with one eye turned up, as if watching the weather, some with their heads under their wings or buried in their bosoms, and others swelling and cooing and bowing about their dames, while enjoying the sunshine on the roof. Sleek, unwielding porkers were grunting in the repose and abundance of their pens, from whence sailed forth now and then troops of suckling pigs, as if to snuff the air. A stately squadron of snow geese were riding in an adjoining pond, conveying whole fleets of ducks. Regiments of turkeys were gobbling through the farmyard, and guinea fowl fretted about it, like ill-tempered housewives, with their peevish, discontented cry. Before the barn door strutted the gallant cock, the pattern of a husband, a warrior, and a fine gentleman, clapping his burnished wings and crowing in the pride and gladness of his heart, sometimes tearing up the earth with his feet, and then generously calling his ever-hungry family of wives and children to enjoy the rich morsel which he had discovered. The pedagogue's mouth watered as he looked upon the scrumptious promise of luxurious winter fare. In his devouring mind's eye, he pictured to himself every roasting pig running around with a pudding in his belly and an apple in his mouth. The pigeons were snugly put to bed in a comfortable pie and tucked in with a coverlet of crust. The geese were swimming in their own gravy, and the ducks pairing cozily in dishes like a snug married couple with a decent competency of onion sauce. In the porkers he saw carved out the future sleek side of bacon and the juicy relished ham. Not a turkey, but he beheld daintily trussed up, with its gizzard under its wing, and peradventure a necklace of savory sausages, and ever bright Chanticleer himself lay sprawling on his back in a side dish with uplifted claws, as if craving that quarter with which his chivalrous spirit disdained to ask while living. As the enraptured Ichabod fancied all this, and as he rolled his great green eyes over the fat meadowlands, the rich fields of wheat, of rye, of buckwheat, and of Indian corn, and the orchards burdened with ruby fruit, which surrounded the warm tenements of Van Tassel, his heart yearned for the damsel who was to inherit these domains, and his imagination expanded with the idea how they might be readily turned into cash, and the money invested in immense tracts of wild land and shingle places in the wilderness. Nay, his busy fantasy already realized his hopes, and presented to him the blossoming Katrina, with a whole family of children mounted on top of a wagon loaded with household triumphantry, with pots and kettles dangled beneath, and he beheld himself bestride a pacing mare with a colt at her heel, setting out for Kentucky, Tennessee, or the Lord knows where. When he entered the house, the conquest of his heart was complete. It was one of those spacious farmhouses with high-ridged but lowly sloping roofs, built in the style handed down from the first Dutch settlers. The low projecting eaves formed a piazza along the roof, capable of being closed up in bad weather. Under this were hung flails, harnesses, various utensils of husbandry, and nets for fishing in the neighboring river. Benches were built along the sides for summer use, and a great spinning wheel at one end, and a churn at the other, showing the various uses to which this important porch might be devoted. From this piazza, the wondering Ichabod entered the hall, which formed the center of the mansion, and the place of usual residence. Here, rows of resplendent pewter, ranged on long dressers, dazzled his eyes. In one corner stood a huge bag of wool, ready to be spun. In another, a quantity of linseed woolly, just from the loom, ears of Indian corn, and strings of dried apples and peaches hung in gay festoons along the wall. Mingled with the gaud of red peppers, and a door left ajar gave him a peep into the best parlor, where the claw-footed chairs and dark mahogany table shone like mirrors. Andirons with their accompanying shovels and tongs glistened from their coverlets of asparagus tops. Mock oranges and conch shells decorated the mantelpiece. Strings of various colored birds' eggs were suspended above it. A great ostrich egg was hung from the center of the room, and a corner cupboard, knowingly left open, displayed immense treasures of old silver and well-mended china. In today's exciting episode, we met Katrina Van Tassel, her family, and learned about her family's land. We also got a look at what kind of person Ichabod was and his goals. There are only two questions for today. The first is, Ichabod was interested in Katrina and thought about marrying her. What did he like the most about her? And the second, what do Ichabod's thoughts about Katrina say about him as a person? Explain. And that's it for episode 4. Before you go, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And don't forget to comment below. And as always, if you have any questions, you can find me here or on social media, links below, and I'll see you in the next exciting episode of Taiwan in English. Bye.